And as for tomorrow, the president plans to offer, as you said, a contrast, and it was written, quote, to congressional Republicans' ultra-MAGA plan to raise taxes. Now, the Washington Post has called that claim false, that there is a Republican congressional plan to raise taxes. Why is this statement still being shared?
Because Chairman Scott's plan, and we welcome, we know he's asked for people to go to his website. We would encourage people to do the same thing and check out his plan that raises taxes for people making less than $100,000 a year.
Mitch McConnell and this report, there aren't any other Republicans signing on to this at this point. So is it fair to say that Republicans as a whole are pushing?
He's the chairman of the committee. If Republicans want to repudiate his plan, they should go do that. But otherwise, that continues to be what they're running on. So that's their position, not ours.
This is Fox's Alexandria Hoff trying to find some type of a gotcha question on Jen Psaki as Republicans desperately try to run away from their own agenda released by Rick Scott. And while I give Rick Scott credit for at least releasing something, as opposed to the usual Republican promises of, oh yeah, we definitely have an agenda, we're just not going to tell you what it is until we're elected, the plan itself deserves no such credit, considering how woefully and aggressively dangerous it would be for anyone who's not a millionaire or billionaire in America. Now, couple points here. First, Hoff says that despite Rick Scott's plan, McConnell and other Republicans haven't signed on to it yet, as if that means that it doesn't count. But Rick Scott isn't some random freshman congressman. He is the person in charge of taking back the Senate majority for the Republicans. They gave him that power. If Joe Biden, for example, said that he wanted to raise taxes on half of Americans and no other Democrats signed on, do you think Republicans and Fox News would say, well, hold on now, no other Democrats have signed on, so let's just take a step back here? Of course not. They would acknowledge that when the people in charge say something, it counts. They put Rick Scott in a leadership position so they don't get to bury their heads in the sand when he says the quiet part out loud and says something that they don't think would be politically advantageous for them. Second of all, are we really pretending that suddenly Republicans aren't for tax cuts for the ultra-rich and gutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Are we really pretending that we haven't seen them breathlessly advocate for exactly that for our entire lifetimes? We've got these Fox hosts desperately parsing and nitpicking to find some technicality on which Rick Scott's plan somehow isn't representative of his party, as if we don't already have all of these people on record admitting that enacting his plan is exactly what they would do. And don't take my word for it, listen to those Republicans say it themselves.
What's going on with the debt?
It's very disturbing, and it's driven by the three big entitlement programs that are very popular: Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid. That's 70% of what we spend every year. The subject we were just discussing, the funding of the government, is about 30% of what we spend. There's been a bipartisan reluctance to tackle entitlement changes because of the popularity of those programs. Hopefully, at some point here, we'll get serious about this. We haven't been yet.
We all know the real driver of the debt is entitlements. They're extraordinarily popular, but in the solution, we all know, is the demographics of our country are changing dramatically. Social Security was set at 65 back in the 30s, when the average American lived to be 61. That was the age set for Medicare. So that's the real drivers of the debt. So I make no apologies. These very, very popular entitlement programs at some point are going to have to be adjusted to meet the demographics of America tomorrow, rather than the demographics of America in the 30s and the 60s.
But sure, taking an axe to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security are definitely only Rick Scott's plan and nobody else's. Got it. Now, as for the plan itself, I'm going to do something new. I would normally take a few minutes now to dive into what the plan says that specifically and clearly shows how a Republican majority would decimate the middle class while, of course, coddling the ultra-rich. But I've actually just partnered with the amazing team at More Perfect Union to put together an entire video expose on exactly what that Republican plan shows. It is one of the videos that I'm most proud of, and I would highly recommend watching and sharing it. So at this point, if you have a few minutes and want to see what I would very immodestly suggest is the most effective takedown of this plan that there is, click the thumbnail right here on the screen or follow the link in the post description.